On this day in history, 1946, French colonial troops cracked down on Vietnamese rebels after Ho Chi Minh launched a revolt in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. Don't ask me why, but I really want there to be a collective noun for a group of Asians, because for the longest time, I've just used the term study group. Live from Wattpad Nation, it's the Corner Booth, your weekly broadcast where we talk about all things centered around the big orange W. And tonight is our 36th episode. I already see Lucy Rhodes has joined us, Rachel Mole, Lisa, I'm sorry, I always butcher your name, Lisa, I'm so sorry. Because it kind of looks like Adele, but it has an I in it. I don't know. And then, hello, Angela Merlot. Welcome to our 36th episode entitled The Hot Button, where we're talking about religion, politics, sexual orientation, because these topics can make or break a story. Should you integrate them into yours or sidestep them altogether? I want to know, I know you want to know, these panelists have some really good takeaways for you tonight, and I'd like to introduce them to you right now. We have, welcoming back, Michelle Hayes. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
She is at Michelle007 on Wattpad. She's doing the How Deep the Roots Go series, currently on The Vines of Blood and Ash. If you haven't checked it out, it's definitely worth the read. And then we got Miss Sarah Benson, who's coming back. Super excited about that. She is at Sarah Benson Books. She's kind of done what I'm hoping there's going to be a third one of these. I need to really catch up, but she's composing something called the Shadow Wars series. Born of Shadow and the Bloodstone Prophecy are both available on Wattpad, and they're both completed because Sarah's an overachiever. Yeah. I feel like I'm so ahead of everything. And then the lovely Miss Aimee Irizarry Diaz, who is at Rose Aimee, who is just a few hours ago started a new collection of poetry called A Rose and a Poem. She's highly followed, and we love her to death. Hello, Miss Aimee. Welcome back.
Hi there. Thank you.
And we're introducing to you tonight Lynn Santiago, who is at Lynn S13. Glass and Iron, A Court for Fairies, Volume 2 is her current work that she's got going on right now. We're really excited to have you here tonight, Lynn. I hope that you're excited
Happy to be here.
Yeah, all right. So we're just gonna get into this right away because I'm really eager to hear these things. And, okay, so the high five tonight. Yes, it's always goofy, but I try to challenge myself and make it even goofier. So this is what I sent to the panelists a little bit earlier in the weekend. To begin with, I'd like you, the panelists, to select any other panelists from a Corner Booth broadcast. Now envision that person as a sidekick who fights crime alongside you. What names do you take on to protect your identity? What are your powers? Who is your nemesis? Tell me about these things, and they only have a 5-sentence limit. But that wasn't enough for me. I wanted to give them a little bit of a twist. They needed to incorporate one of the following items from this list. Bologna that acts as an aphrodisiac, pine cones that have a vomit-inducing scent, root beer-flavored dum-dums that attract dolphins, ice cube trays filled with silly putty, or a VCR that plays The Ring on a loop. So, I am going to start with Miss Aimee. I'm really interested in what she came up with. 5-sentence story.
Oh boy. Well, my sidekick is Lynn.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Yeah, got a break of the newbie.
Exactly. And it goes like this. After working on a strip club for a few years under the artistic name of Princess Lusty Juice, Red Hair Fury decided it was time for a change in her life. Still dragging old vices, such as going shopping topless and wearing 20 inches high heels, black leather boots, she found the League of Justice the best way of reforming her life. Her sidekick Dallas Hooter, now Tracy Darkberry, and her fight vampires together with a secret weapon, aphrodisiac bologna blood laces sandwiches. They stand together to defeat the evil Natasha, the stranded vampire tourist who frequents 80s gothic bars to seduce the locals to drink their blood and make them watch The Ring on the loop with her possessed VCR.
Oh, look at her.
She got two in, didn't she?
Two of them, yeah.
Nice.
Wow, that was
Set
great.
the bar high.
Yeah, seriously. Right on the top. I love it. Wait, I need to know the names one more time.
Oh, Red Hair Fury. Oh, the stripper names? Or
Stripper
the-
names. Stripper names.
Yeah. Those are
Both
great.
of them. Okay, I was before Princess Lusty Juice. And now I am reformed and I am Red Hair Fury. And my sidekick was Dallas Hooter. And now she is the lovely Tracy Dark Fairy.
Oh, man. I just want to know what Princess Lusty Juice's costume is like.
I have to ask when we're drinking
I
sangria while looking at.
That's a different kind of strip club. I don't know.
No, I don't know. Steer clear.
Yeah. Lynn Santiago, I am very excited to hear about your story.
Yeah, actually, since I just came here in the last minute, we made ours together. I'm just here to stare you straight in the face and say baloney.
This is why they were so awesome, because they just that's great. I love the collaborative effort. That's awesome.
Teamwork.
But Lynn, I do need to hear you say baloney one more time, because it is very sexy.
Baloney.
It's great. Oh man. Life goals. You're getting shorter as far as the list around. Michelle Hayes, what do you got for us?
Okay, well, I have to follow that. Alrighty. I've selected Kellyanne Blount as my sidekick.
Yeah.
And our names are Falcon and Hawk. We harbor the gift of conjuring spells of good fortune and age-defying chance. Our nemesis is a neighboring witch who fancies herself the head mistress of all that lives and breathes magic. Well, the phone didn't ring in my story. She lives the very... I'm just joking. She loathes the very air we breathe and casts against us to take away our magic. We have no other alternative but to chant and cast as well and bring a hail of pine cones that have a vomiting-inducing scent raining down upon her until the light of the next full moon. That's it.
I don't know, that's awesome. I love it. I'm trying to envision these characters together now with, it'd be like the Avengers assembling together, but I don't know, with Princess Lusty Cheeks and, Kellyanne Blount. I don't know. It'd be great. It'd be a great team. Sarah, what do you got for us?
Okay, so May and I have been trying to get on an episode together forever, so we finally are, and I figured I better choose her as my, sidekick, because that would be pretty awesome. So, anyway, and I thought, we need to play on what we write. So, I already have a name that my readers have given me, so I thought I may as well use that. So, I am known as Cliffy Queen, and I make people spontaneously float. No, really. My bestie in crime is May, a.k.a. Vampy Girl. She can manipulate minds and make them do her bidding. Together we fight our nemesis, Evil Octopus Man, with ice cube trays filled with silly putty.
That's a dangerous weapon, I'm telling you. It's going to be there. All right, let's see. We're going to go cruise on over to the part of the broadcast that we call Cream or Sugar. And it's my favorite part of the broadcast because it gives us a chance to put you, Wattpad Nation, in the spotlight, where we highlight the cream, a relatively unknown Wattpadder who has risen to the surface, or at least one of these panelists' library, or an established Wattpadder. They want to show some love, just give them some sugar. And I'm going to start with you. Who do you got for us tonight?
Okay. The person that I show is a cream. He only got 250 followers for now. And his name is Aldo Acinelli. He's a Peruvian archaeologist, and he writes both in English and Spanish. And the story that the compilation of short story, all of them written in less than 20 words, which is amazing. It's titled Nano Stories. As I said, all of them are under 20 words, and he often shares these stories on Twitter as well. I'm going to read one because it's really short. It goes, and this one I like it a lot. Dry river, hungry dogs, nobody remembers who lived in this town. So
I
I
like
hope
that.
everybody follows these easy to read and amazing short stories collection.
That's awesome. I mean, just the theme in general of, doing something like that, 20 words or less, that's crazy cool, definitely.
Exactly.
All right, well, I'm going to bounce over to Miss Michelle. Who do you got for cream or sugar?
I have a sugar this evening, and the author's name is Liz Madrid, and her moniker is at Morgan's Muse. I'm sure everyone knows her. She has recently posted a lovely and steamy Christmas short story under Mistletoe and Mischief for Michelle Jo Quinn's Christmas anthology. The title is Kiss Here, which is an Ash and Riley story. So if you've read her work, you're familiar with that. Loving Ash, that story had reached over 1 million reads. She is an author that I recommend and one that I'm certain just about everyone on Wattpad knows and favors.
Absolutely. Everybody loves Liz Madrid. She's great. I don't know many people that don't know her. She's so active on the site. It's crazy cool.
Yep.
All right. Let's scoot over to Lynn. Who do you got for us?
Okay, kind of broke there. All right. Well, I'm here just for today, and after Dallas Hooter, I don't know if I'll be back.
No. Lynn, just to let you know, somebody wants, on the live chat, they were talking about doing TCB fanfic, which would be amazing. Like, that would be so awesome.
That'll be amazing. So, but since I'm just here for today, but not coming back, I have cream and sugar. I have both cream and sugar, so bear with me. Let's start. I see that Nat has over here my sugar. So, if you love vampires, I mean, it's never too early to start reading Layla Adams. Basically, you can start with The Offering, book 1, and if you're feeling Christmassy, the story starts right on Christmas Eve and goes into a nice little bloodbath. And but not only that, I mean, this story takes everything you know about vampires, tosses it out of the window, and Layla just runs with it and makes it her own. So it's flawless narrative and basically reinvents the myth. It's amazing. My cream, it's also a vampire one. It's Tamoja, and in the title is Blood Mother. Blood Mother is basically that story that reminds us that vampires are monsters through and through. When we're so used to tall, dark, and handsome vampires out there, Tammy basically brings in a female character that strikes very close to the origin of the vampire myth. It's a female character called Kalina, and the only way that she has to connect to her lost humanity is by having children as victims, because she wants to connect to that part of her that once used to be a mother, but now she's not really sure how to cross over into that now that she's a monster. So if you really want a good thrill ride and a nice police story with really, really good background in vampires, that's the one for you to look.
That's awesome, Lynn. Thank you so much. And I know from personal experience, especially your sugar shout-out, I mean, Layla Adams, she's phenomenal. And definitely, I mean, everybody check out this new one. I mean, I've never come across it before, but absolutely, if it's gotten your vote, it's probably going to get others, most certainly. Okay.
It's very authentic. I read it too.
Great, awesome. And last but certainly not least, Miss Sarah, who do you got?
I have The Hall of Games by Stephanie at 7th Star. And if anybody knows Steph, you know how amazing she is. She's just another one of those awesome Wattpadders. And I've been friends with her for a while. And this book just recently won a Wattie, very well deserved. And part of it is because of her amazing graphic skills that she's brought to the story. Just tell you a bit about about Steph before I go into the story. Not only is she just a fantastic human being, she's also a Wattpad ambassador and the co-founder of the Wattpad fantasy community, which I am excited to see where she and the equally awesome Jessica B. Fry take that community. So I'm just shouting out that community as well. So anyway, this story begins with Katie and Josh Gates, and they're at a magic show, which is a very fun way to start this. There's this mysterious wizard that comes in, And Katie gets called up, of course, to be the assistant, which kind of sets the whole story off. Josh is whisked away to this hidden world, and now it's up to Katie to track him down. Steph does a great job with this story. She has wonderful description. The action is exciting, and one of the best things about Steph is she loves a good Cliffy just as much as I do, and she uses them quite well. And so I do highly recommend you check out the Hall of Games. One final thing with that, what the coolest thing was when I went and congratulated her after she won the Waddy, she wrote back, and it was just so sweet. She said that when she first started on Wattpad, that some encouragement I guess I had given her helped her decide to put her story up. And so that was just really cool moment. You know, you never know what your kind words or the things that you say, how it will affect someone else. And to feel like I had any part at all in helping her put her story up and win a Waddy Award is just like so gratifying. So good on you, Steph, and go check her work out.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And that's a really, really cool story to have, too. I mean, it's, you know, the people that you come in contact with on Wattpad, you never really know what's going to happen with either of you. I mean, yes, sky's the limit, right? So we're going to bounce over to the portion of the broadcast that we call the entree. And like I said, we're doing hot button issues tonight. I hope that you're really excited about this. And like I said, I know that a lot of these issues that are labeled as hot button issues, sometimes it's really, really difficult to find the right words that aren't going to offend someone. And if you're constantly nagging yourself on it and you don't, at least attempt to do something bold, I don't think it's ever going to happen. But we got a fantastic panel that is going to touch base on this, and we're just going to start with question number 1. Hot button issues have the ability to attract as well as repel readers. What should a writer know before tackling a hot button issue? What should a writer avoid? And I'm going to start with May.
Okay, first of all, this is not an easy task to accomplish. Even if you're an experienced writer, it's not easy to deal with these themes. But as any kind of story, I recommend to you to do some research. Try to investigate according to what you have chosen to write about. If it's a very spicy or delicate theme, read the news, the trendy things that are happening now related to that specific theme, and public opinion, cultural, social implications of writing about these things. Don't use a trendy hot theme just for the sake of using it or to gain readers, because your story will be ending up nobody or people can be offended after reading it. Utilize adequate words. Never intend to be offensive, and reread the story. When you finish your story, reread it aloud to grasp the details that can be, wacky or can be offensive. Change them and rephrase those sentences or change the words. Remember that humanity is beautiful precisely for that, for diversity and variety. Be a responsible writer and write with respect and tolerance. Try not to state your personal opinion unless you want to give a lesson or moral or to teach something, but try to be subtle in the way you express yourself. Try to express these things through dialogues instead of the point of view. So in that way, it looks like the characters are the ones that are dealing with these aspects of life, and that you are not expressing your open opinion in this.
Yeah, that's a really creative way of dealing with it. It wasn't my opinion, it was the character's opinion, so yeah, don't blame me, blame the character. I don't know what's going on there. That's fantastic. Thank you, May. I'm going to cruise on over to Michelle. What do you got for us?
Okay, I have to say this is a great question, and I'm going to mirror what Amy said. The task is not easy as a writer. We don't want to offend. We want the reader to enjoy the story. For me, I write what is inside of me, what is dying to come out, so there isn't much of a filter, if you will. It's fiction, so anything's possible. Yes, one should deliver certain topics with delicacy, but not allow your gift and your story to be concealed either. Just have tact and respect.
Oh, yeah. Respect is huge, and I think it's great when people, incorporate hot button issues into their work, because it's not necessarily something that you practice or even maybe believe, but you're kind of celebrating it in a way. And through that action, it puts heart into your work, and you can tell when a story of any kind lacks passion, like right from the get-go. So that's great. Thank you so much, Michelle. Lynn, what do you got? Lynn, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.
Okay, lost you there for a second. Well, hot button issues. I mean, in fear of sounding like a very thorough Spanish cliche, I'm going to say that as a writer, I'm very passionate. And when it comes to something delicate, sometimes I try, and although you always have to put your heart into what you write, sometimes I try to write from my head instead of from my heart. Why? Because when I see something that really, really touches me deeply, sometimes I feel the urge to disgorge everything right there on the keyboard, and Wattpad is a perfect venue for that because we're updating live as we go. But when I feel that urge and I know that I might hurt somebody without even pretending to do it, I just step back, relax, count to 10, and then, make sure that I'm informed. I mean, never write uninformed when it comes to, certain topics. And because what they said about assuming, I mean, you don't want to make a mess out of what you're trying to convey. But basically, just educate yourself about the subject. Don't go out and just throw it out there without giving a little bit of thought and taking in consideration the feelings of others.
Absolutely. Very, very important. And that's great, like writing from your head when you're in those tight situations. It's a really good way of putting it. Thank you so much, Lynn. We're going to have you back. Come on. Are you kidding me? After like, seriously. Not worried about, oh, man, it's my first broadcast. You're going to No. It's okay. We've all made plenty of mistakes to fill a novel. Sarah, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I thought that everybody made great points, and my answer's quite similar, actually. And I thought it was interesting what Lynn said about how there is a tendency there with Wattpad to just throw your stuff out there. I mean, so many people are writing their stories on their cell phones as they're going along, and yet you do want to take a moment to stop and reflect and say, is this really how I want to represent myself? Because it's so easy, especially like when I'm really emotionally upset about something, to just throw it out there and then later like, well, maybe I didn't quite see it as clearly as I should have. So I think when it comes to this, like, and you know the stories on Wattpad or other places that, like the rant books or things like that, where people are kind of putting things out there just to get a conversation going, stir things up. And you can do that if you'd like. But I think when it comes to, particularly when you're writing for a large group or for fiction or whatever, that when you tackle a controversial topic, that I would recommend against taking a real dogmatic approach. No one likes to be hammered with a point of view that they completely disagree with, and then they feel like, that there's nothing they can do, really. So, and it also, kind of like makes them feel disempowered. I don't know. So if you are handling a controversial issue, I think it's much more interesting if you approach it with having, say, characters that have different points of view, so that it's almost like more of a debate approach. And that way your characters, even if you have a point that you're trying to drive home, or your characters mainly cater to one point of view, more of your readers are going to feel at least that their thoughts are represented, and be maybe more open to considering alternative thoughts if you do that. So, and I think in addition that, for the most part, I think that will handle things well. But if you ever have something that's like super controversial, or you're like, I don't know how this will fly, that's what's great about Wattpad or having writer friends. Just like send it to them and say, hey, will you check this out? Let me know what you think. And if you send it to a few friends and they're all like, no, don't do it, you might you might want to think about it, why, and so it's nice to get other points of view to help you in determining what, a good approach might be.
Absolutely. And it kind of, it filters out the mistakes, and especially if you have a writer group. A lot of these panelists, they're a part of writer groups, and they pass their stories around and see what everybody else thinks. Beta readers are worth their weight in gold. If you want to just kind of go for it and put it on Wattpad and see if it survives and nobody thinks that you're, misogynistic or a racist, like, I don't know exactly, like, the best case or the worst case scenario, but you're going to find it really fast if you post something that's super controversial on Wattpad, because those issues that are, at least at the time, because it kind of comes and goes as far as trends, but like, let's say that you're at the peak of a trend and it is a controversial topic and you try to tackle it, you're going to know really fast if it's going to work or not just by the comments, because people like to speak out on those. That's definitely, yeah, absolute. All right, and let's see. We are going to go over to question number 2. The LGBT plus community on Wattpad is an ever-growing, thriving part of the site. Noteworthy writers of the genre know how to create characters who don't play to stereotypes. How do you steer clear of stereotypes? I may.
Okay, and this is my personal opinion, right? And I realize, and I'm clear that homosexual people and heterosexual people are the same. I don't see differences between them or us, and they are like human beings as we are, and they don't have to represent a stereotype. They are people as we are, with blood in their veins as we do. And to clear up your mind of stereotypes, it's basic, it's a priority when you begin writing a story. As I said before, try to do some research of maybe how do they speak and relate. Don't mess things up trying to do something outrageous when you are people will think that you're mocking people, and that's not appropriate. And in my personal experience, I write historical fiction, and in that particular case, for example, I have a novel, I have a story that both female protagonists they share a lesbian relationship, and I describe all the passion and their love and everything that happened in their sexual intercourses as any normal sexual intercourse, because they love each other, right? But I state in that precise historical time that it's a sinful relationship, because in that time it was considered in that way. Not today. I don't think it is today. So do some research, and of course it all depends on the time of history you are going to settle these characters and this kind of behavior. But as I say, in that time, homosexuality was considered an aberration. But medicine also was something sinful in that time. Everything was. So do some research and try to do the best you can without stereotyping people. Just humanity is beautiful with all these colors and the way we are. So writers should be that way.
Most definitely. And the more you research, the better your work is going to be.
Exactly.
Write what you know, but make for damn sure that you know it. Like, that's
exactly
a cardinal rule. You can't, if you try to lollygag your way through it or just kind of half-ass it, it's never, ever going to be as good as it can be. And so I love the fact that you're putting so much stress on research, because it's uber, uber important. Michelle, what do you got for us?
Okay, alrighty. I try to avoid stereotyping by framing my story with well-rounded characters, trying hard not to place stereotypical generalizations there. I do my best to avoid statements such as the ditzy blonde or the nerdy kid, etc. I think I can expand and develop my sentence a bit better so it's more concrete and less shallow. That's what I got for that.
I like that. No, that's great. It's a really, really good way to kind of steer clear of it, and it's creative.
Yeah, I try. I'm not always saying I do it.
No.
I think when I hear the statement like the drunk on the street, I have that in Mardi Gras. Temperance in my book. They're in Mardi Gras, and one of my characters said,
your story?
"Drunk." Yes, exactly. So again, that's kind of stereotyping in a sense. So I try to be delicate and not really put them in my story so much.
It's a good call. Absolutely.
Glenn.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna be addressing the straight writers out there. And when it comes to the LGBT community, it's funny because I'm tired of reading stories about the conflicted gay guy who had a girlfriend yesterday, and today he discovered that his history professor is hot, and or about the sorry lesbian who doesn't know how to apply lipstick. It's something strange for us because we're on the outside looking in, but this is what I have to say about stereotypes in the LGBT community. Stereotype is something that they walk the fine line between, amusing and very, very bad if you don't know how to do them. So my advice would be, if you have not mastered satire, do not even think about getting close to stereotype. We're living in a point in history in which, society is embracing change and diversity more than ever. And what you need to do if you're going to write LGBT characters is just integrate it in your story. I mean, don't leave them outside looking in, and don't try to trap them into the gayverse in which they don't know anybody else or they don't have any other contact that are gay people, because you're, in a sense, ostracizing them within your same writing. It's like, when I introduce myself to you, I don't usually come out saying, "Hi, my name is Lynn, and I like boys." I mean, there are things that you're going to find out about me as you get to know me, and it's the same thing that should happen with your characters. Just, just give them a chance to grow along with your story and to discover things about them and to contact them at an emotional level. Sexuality or their sexual orientation is not who they are, it's just part of what they are. So to me, that is important to say, concerning us that are writing LGBT characters, and we don't have the experience, but we're trying to integrate the characters. Sometimes we do fall into that little ostracizing and marginalization of our characters, and it doesn't convey the message that we were supposed to convey.
That was brilliant. Like, seriously, that's great. I love it. It's so important, and all of these panelists do it really well. The greatest writers in the world will have layered characters, and I think at the initial introduction of a character, you have to have that one hook that kind of makes the character relatable in some way, even if it's a bad kind of relation, where the person, they might not necessarily be like that. For example, a villain. You want to make sure that your villain's believable, and sometimes you have to throw some sort of connection into there where, the person, the reader, your audience, doesn't necessarily have to agree with the bad guy, but they can, say, "Oh, I get it. I can sympathize with it," kind of deal. Yeah, but it's great. Layers, super important. I'm so glad that you brought it up, and very eloquently done, ma'am, if I do say so myself. Miss Sarah, what do you got?
Yeah, Lynn is rocking this. She's
Seriously.
so good. No, I and my thoughts were so similar to hers, and I love this. So, when I first read this question, I immediately thought, like she said, to some of the bad examples I've seen. And I think, I don't know if we're getting better. I think we are, maybe.
During that, I don't know.
Okay, so I think back to even, a few years ago, and it was primarily in, like, YA books. And we started to see people incorporating gay characters into their books, and it was generally like a sibling or a best friend. And these characters, I think that they were trying to include, which is a good sentiment, but the problem was they were basically writing these characters that so often fell into stereotypes. They just were not fully fleshed out. They were like these cardboard characters that were included because they wanted to make sure that they knew they were included, but you know, that doesn't really do anyone a service. It didn't feel like they were real. And if you're going to write a character, any character, they deserve the attention, to be a full person, to have a backstory, to have things that they care about, people they love, and again, it's like both Lynn and Aimee were talking about. They're human. They're human first, and that's not just this, but that's like when we're talking about any group of people, whether it be sexual orientation or religion, race, gender, their education, or career choice, any of these things, those are just like little pieces of their life. And you should never write a character to represent an agenda or point of view. Boom. So we need to write characters that are some of all their parts. And the easiest way to do that is not to write, okay, now I'm going to write a gay character. I mean, would you say, now I'm going to write a female character, now I'm going to write a male character? You don't do that, instead you're going to be like, I'm going to write a story, and the characters will reveal themselves, as they go, naturally. And the little aspects that come out as we discover who they are, they will all combine to form those characters and their personalities, and we don't need to worry about hitting people over the head with anything. Those characters will reveal that themselves. And so when you write characters in that way, they're not only a lot more interesting to read, but they finally come off as real, and that's what we're going for.
That's great. I love that. That's so good. I kind of envisioned I think the title of the painting, it's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it's also at the Chicago Museum of Art. And I believe it's called Sunday Afternoon in the Park with George. It's by George Seurat, and it's a masterpiece in pointillism. And you see, these amazing umbrellas and everything like that. And the closer you go to it, the more that you see it's all a bunch of colored dots. And so I kind of, as you're talking about the fact that, okay, here's the big picture, and then as I move forward slowly, kind of like you're reading the story, as I move forward, I see slowly but surely all of these little fine details, and that they all kind of work together and orchestrate a fantastic plot line. So, yes. Ladies, you're doing so good with this. I don't know what everybody was nervous about, but yeah, okay. So, question number 3 goes a little like this. 2 guys walk into a bar. Neither of them are supposed to talk about religion or politics. So I guess they write about them instead. When it comes to writing religion, there are definitely some do's and don'ts. But let's focus on a large bullet point. How do you not come off as preachy? It's a big topic when it comes to anybody who's incorporating religion into any story that's available on Wattpad. Aimee, what do you got for us?
Okay, first of all, we have to consider that religion is something human innate. Even though we believe or decide to not believe in something, it's part of us. We always justify whatever it happens with something out of us, whatever you call it, God or whatever. So it's something that we can't avoid, but we have to learn how to manage it in the story. And you must think first, what are you going to write and why? Why are you including religion in your story, whatever religion you want to include? And if you want to give a moral or a lesson and use some religious aspects to do it well. Don't go to the extremes, to the very other way. And accept others' opinions with an open consciousness and mind. If you decide to write a story about religion, you have to be open to criticism of people who doesn't believe or doesn't think the same way you do. In the end, it all depends on, as I say, why are you writing or using religion in your story. If you're going to use it in a historical context, it's a bit different, right? Just add these details and whatever you're going to use it to enrich your story. Add these details within the plot in a very subtle way, in a very respectful way, unless you're going to write a religious book. Because if it's a story, then you need to add them in a very subtle way. Measure your words. Use the adequate words and terms. If you are including a finite religious, definite religious, do some research about how people behave with that specific religion and how do they believe the precise names, because you don't want to do a jumble up and mix Catholic with Protestants, and you won't look very smart at the end of the story.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna make a lot of people angry.
yeah, so that's basically what I have.
No, it's good, and I think you need to decide at the get-go. Are you using this as a? Is this a backdrop? Or is it scenery? Are you using religion as a prop? I mean, or is it just a ploy to gain readership of one kind or another? Once you make that decision, if you start writing those topics of what you're going to address on paper, you're going to realize rather quickly that, or whether or not it's a good idea. If it gives to the story, or if it takes away from the story. Some people say if you write any sort of narrative and you just have a Christmas scene, that automatically you're putting Christianity into it. It just, take it or leave it kind of deal. So definitely, absolutely, I agree with it. Michelle, what do you got?
Okay. All right, for me, I research whatever religious attributes I have going on in the book, and I am careful how I fold them in the story. I do play some facts, but also I use a lot of symbolism referring to religion. For example, crows, they are messengers of God, and they're not viewed as a bad omen, as some people think. I do like to expand subtly enough so it's not as if you're sitting through Sunday Mass. It's like a cake to me, if you will. You're putting each ingredient in at different intervals, kind of like the same with your story. Too much at the same time will ruin the cake. So, anyways, that's how I view it.
That's right. It's a recipe. Follow the recipe. Follow the instructions.
Yeah.
It was great. I bought it. I was fine. You started with fold in the ingredients. I mean, I get it. And I know that you said pudding as it like pudding something, but I heard pudding like Bill Cosby.
I don't know.
That's where my head went. Lynn, what do you got?
No.
All right, let's see. I'm very much with Michelle and Rosa on this one. I mean, when it comes to writing religion, just know your facts, know your history. Know that religion is a human institution that is trying to reach and understand a concept that is beyond human understanding. So, but being a human institution, though, sometimes it's meant to fail as well. So there's always, you can always balance that good and bad without being judgmental about religion. It's just that there's a human side to it that we need to explore. Also, try to do your research and try to understand the point of view of people of different religions. You don't need to agree with it. You don't need to convert. You don't need to set it aside. It's just, try to walk a little bit on their shoes and see where they're coming from in order to create your characters. I'm big on research, as you're saying, but this is a topic that goes beyond books. I mean, there's people out there that do not share your beliefs and your core systems, and it might make you feel a little bit out of place or, strange by getting in touch with them and talking about these things, but it also helps you grow as a writer. And it's also nice to get to experience, point of views of other human beings, no?
Absolutely. I want to sample them all.
I'm going to preach about avoiding being preachy.
It's not counterintuitive at all.
The way that you avoid being preachy is just looking for the things that we have in common instead of the things that separate us.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we're in the middle of the holiday season, and I know Rosa has written a Christmas story that includes reference to Jesus and the manger, and I know that Michelle has written angels that fit within the Christian dogma perfectly, and I know that Sarah has Liver of Theology in her stuff, and I work for Paranormal Community at Wattpad, and we have a Jewish werewolf who actually enjoys celebrating Hanukkah. But how do you connect with somebody that do not have these type of beliefs? Well, you look for things that, like family, that need to have this contact in the holiday season. Who doesn't love a candy cane? I don't know. Just look for things that we have in common with our fellow human beings, And you can be nice, and you don't need to shove it down their throats. It's just, you're opening a venue for them to start a conversation, even if from one of your stories. So just be just nice to one another and keep rolling.
Yeah, you betcha. That's great. I love it. It's so good. You're so good, Lynn. You're so good. Sarah, let's round this up.
Yeah, I loved everybody's thoughts, and I really like that word that Michelle used, like fold into the story, because that is so good. I mean, it'll reveal itself in little bits and pieces throughout, and that's absolutely the way that it ought to be done, rather than some kind of big, here you go,
in your face. Yeah.
in your face. You want to avoid the in your face thing. I think the big thing is. You need when you're coming to write a story, you don't have to prove anything to anyone or try to school them, in the way that they ought to think about something. I think instead of having your characters try to teach people per se, I think instead you should just have their lives reflect their beliefs. A person who believes something, for example, that they'll be held accountable for their actions. They're going to act differently than a person who's like anything goes type of belief system. And everyone, it's kind of funny because I kind of look at any strongly held belief as a sort of religion. There are people who are religious about their iPhones, for example, And so anyway, it's like to me, it's not about this religion versus that religion, or that's just all semantics and all people just wanting to get people riled up, I think. I think at the end of the day, like Lynn said, that you just come in with an open mind and with respect for what other people have to say. And really, when you do that, I mean, the world's a much more interesting place. I mean, a Jewish vampire celebrating Hanukkah, awesome. How fun is that, right? I mean, that's great. And, in my book, this was something that I was very conscious of, I think, with my stories because, I deal a lot with mythology. And I don't want to disrespect it. And I actually am a Christian, so I don't want to disrespect Christian beliefs, in that. And I also have characters that are Muslim, so it kind of gets a little bit complicated in the midst of it all. And what I really want to show in my books is that it doesn't have to be complicated. My character Haji, he is a Muslim character, but he doesn't push his beliefs off on others. He doesn't have to go around, cutting people's heads off or anything like that. He's not a terrorist just because he's a Muslim, But at the same time, I don't feel like as a character he can't ever talk about his beliefs. I mean, I think I draw the line there. For example, there's a scene in the book where he speaks at a funeral, and he's pretty torn up over the situation that happened. And, of course, his beliefs are going to come into his speech at the funeral. And he's got every right to speak his beliefs and do it in a respectful way. And so, absolutely, I will incorporate it in that way. And I have been very blessed, I don't know, to draw readers in that from all different backgrounds. Many of them don't believe in God, but yet they have been extremely respectful about the way I've written these things, and I love their points of view as well, and that they feel like confident to share their opinions. And I get comments from people from all different belief systems and backgrounds, and yet we can coexist. And that's what's so cool about our stories, is when we can accomplish that, because that's the way it ought to be. So just, show people respect.
Absolutely. That's where it kind of all boils down to. At the very end of it is the whole respect factor. And I love that this entire panel, they focus more on the fact that if you describe these situations as, or at least infuse them into your story and make them experiential, like where you're kind of inundated with all of the things that go on, whether it's, having a candy cane, or, spinning a dreidel, or lighting a menorah. There's so many things that have to do with these facets of religions that make these characters interesting. So if you focus on, rather than the big masthead of Christmas or Kwanzaa, or, whether you're Muslim or whether you're an atheist, if you take out the big, bold words and then focus on the details, more often than not, you're going to have a pretty solid story on your hands. So panel, this is great. Absolutely. And question number 4. Writing politics creates its own array of challenges. What's your approach to introducing politics into your work without it seeming like propaganda? May, what do you got?
Okay, if you're not writing a book about politics, or your main focus is to write about any social or economical movement, or an essay or an investigation, try to use the least of the political terms needed within your story. Use these details maybe in a historical context to enrich your story in the same way you do it with religion. Try to use politics as a part of defining or representing a certain character in your story. So try not to give your opinion in the matter unless you're very documented on the matter. And in the end, everyone will agree with you if you do it in a very subtle way. Unless you're trying to state a message, if your book is precisely about political issues, well, go ahead. But if not, just try to do it in a subtle way. Don't criticize other people, and don't bump into others' boards or message or inbox to criticize or begin a discussion on the matter. Don't try to brainwash others as well, because, for example, Wattpad is not the place for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Michelle, what do you got to add?
Okay, I know my strengths and my weaknesses as an individual and as a writer, and politics is a topic that I will not be writing about. It's too heated of a subject for me, and I would probably blow it somehow, so just being honest there. I'm a paranormal romance writer. I don't think there's room for politics in my awesome fantasy world. I like it like that.
It might be a challenge to try to pursue. You never know. I mean,
yeah.
Temperance for governor? I can see it. I don't know. Lynn, what do you got?
Oh, okay. I'm so in with Michelle on this one. I mean, I live in fantasy worlds, and I hardly ever talk politics. And when I do, it's always, dirty business. And my characters are mostly foreign, and I'm not talking about the USA. I'm talking about the fact that they don't belong to this world. So it's very hard to get them involved in anything that is going on. However,
you go for an election or something.
Yeah, I know fairies have no elections. Once again, I mean, when your characters, I guess for the people that are trying to write politics out there, your characters are a window to the world around us. So my advice would be that there's never been anything productive about a one-sided conversation. So if you write one point of view, try to include the other, and try to find the place and the time to do it, because the last thing that I want to write, what I want to read about, is two characters in a bagel shop discussing the Democratic and Republican debate. It's like, where did they get this from? I don't know. It's not making me happy. So just know time and place, and take in consideration different point of view.
That's great. Always integrate. Yes. Sarah, let's round this out.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned debates, because I was just watching part of the Democratic debate, and I was like, yeah, this would make for some boring reading.
Exactly.
It's funny because I have one of my friends, at J. Victor, she's been on the show before with her book Slave Days, and she is an excellent example of someone who deals with politics in her story. And it was funny because I wrote the very comment on there, I'm like, I can't stand politics, but I do enjoy reading about them. What do I enjoy reading about them? I thought about that. It's like kind of the stuff that goes behind the scenes. It's not sitting around talking about it. That doesn't interest me. It's the that's boring. or it's just it just ruins Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean? It's like it's the same old arguments dragged out. Like my husband's family. Half of them, his mom's side are like all Democrat, and his dad's side they're all Republican. And so it's just like boom. You get those two together, and you know how this is going to go down. And so that doesn't really interest me. But what does interest me is okay, for example, this is one a lot of people have been going crazy about lately, and it's gun control rights, And again, I get annoyed by this kind of in bashing fighting that goes on, these repetitive arguments around and around. I think that if you were to, a more interesting way to address an issue like that is instead have a scenario happen that indicates what happened because of the politics. Something happens because a law was made or wasn't made, or that kind of thing. And when so have it be more like about the plot, about how these choices are going to impact everybody as a whole, and I think that is a much more interesting way to talk about politics is by, the ramifications and how it's going to affect people's lives if this happens or if it doesn't happen, and so I think that is a much better way to address it rather than being, you need to think this, because all you get is a bunch of people writing back saying, well, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want that comment. That's terrible. Yeah. And I love that. It's kind of, if politics if you're trying to weave that into your story, then kind of keep it on an undercurrent that you can only see if you really zoom out and try to look at the entire story. So, yeah, that's great. I love it. And now we are going over to the portion of the broadcast that we call Pass the Salt. Just a way to add a little flavor at the end of these broadcasts. It is a challenge for all of these panelists to have an honest observation, opinion, quote, factoid in 140 characters or less. After sharing theirs on the broadcast, they'll tweet them out using our hashtag TCDWhat. Thank you so much, all of you live viewers. We really appreciate you coming in and joining us live. I know that there's the discussion's kind of gone, everywhere, but that's the idea of it. If you're watching this as a recording, please use our hashtag during the week and ask any questions that you might or may have, and we'll get back to them on the next broadcast. But for Pass the Salt, what do you got, May?
Okay, mine goes like this. Invest time on research before writing your story. Characters will have a voice, plot will be solid, and narration will flow with ease.
I like it. Very nice. Michelle.
Okay, this is by Ernest Hemingway. It's none of their business that you have to learn to write. Let them think you were born that way.
Ooh, that's good. That needs to be a bumper sticker. That's nice. I like it. Lynn?
All right. I brought the king of political correctness, Mr. Oscar Wilde. He said, the pure and simple truth is never pure and rarely simple.
Wow. Profound. Yeah, absolutely. Sarah?
Okay, here's mine. You don't have to agree with others in order to respect them. Everyone deserves your respect.
Ooh. Boom! Yeah! What? Awesome! I love it. And we're just going to wrap up this broadcast. Thank you again for tuning in. We will be back at you with episode 37 next week. We hope that you have a very happy holidays. Enjoy it with your families. Do whatever you got. And, if it's snowing where you are, I'm really glad that Michigan hasn't experienced snow. I can hold off for a little while on that. But if you need a white Christmas or just a nice little white blanket over your holiday, hopefully you get it. If not, we hope, regardless of the weather setting, that you can enjoy it with your family and enjoy the time, whether your family or your friends or people that you share DNA with. We just really hope from everybody at the Corner Booth that you enjoy your holiday season. I want to let everybody know that I believe the WAP Padres are doing something on Tuesday. Is that correct?
I think we take this Tuesday off. Thank you. We take this Tuesday off, but then we'll be back the following Tuesday and from then on. So.
Okay, great. And
yeah.
If you haven't participated in those Twitter chats, you just use their hashtag. It's WAP Padres. It's 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday nights. It's a great way to connect with other people and just share your experiences. They've been doing things on manuscripts, correct?
Yeah, we've been doing a variety of topics, but yeah, I'm not sure which one we're on now. The last one we did was on social media and how to take advantage of it to share your writing. So.
Yes, and a big tool for social network is a fantastic tool for writers.
Right.
So great program project for anybody that's using Wattpad and anybody that's a writer. So go check them out. 24 hours before that, on Monday. I'm not sure if they're gathering this week or not, but the Wattpad 4
Think
usually
they are?
more often than not, more often
I
than
think
not
they
they do Twitter chats using their hashtag Wattpad, the number 4, and same time, just on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And check those lovely ladies out because they got a lot of great information for you. We really hope that you enjoyed tonight and that you have a lot of really, really great takeaways. Please, please, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Give this video a like. We will see you next week, same time, same great channel. Ladies, if you please say goodnight.
Good night, everyone.
Oh, good night.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Good night.
Christmas.
Thanks for coming. Merry Christmas.